Sahana vavatu, sahanau bhunaktu, sahaviryam karavavahai, tejasvinavadhitamastu, ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Chapter 12 is showing us how do we bring this knowledge in a form of an expression, because your expression of, in fact, what you know expresses outwards. That's how people are. What you know innocently comes outwards. You're an open book. People see you through your behavior. How well you speak, how smoothly you can transition, how quickly you can resolve an argument, how quickly you can let go of an uncomfortable situation, how much you can carry yourself, compose yourself in a challenge and maintain your composure and still do what is to be done. These are all expressions of your knowledge being available at the forefront of your mind. That's the idea, to bring it from the back to the front. It starts in the back, and it's hard to get it out. We need to remind ourselves. Slowly, slowly, as we participate, we become participants in this world. This knowledge starts to naturally percolate throughout your personality. And sometimes you surprise yourself, wow, it was such a huge vision in the class, in the Gita, in the Upanishads, and here I am in the most vulnerable time actually drawing from this wisdom, from this well of wisdom. Before I come to class, I'm concerned if I'm even going to do well. I'm like, I don't know this. This is just not available to me. I don't know what to say, how I'm going to say it. It's not clicking. The moment the class starts, all of that is gone. So one is offering oneself as an instrument. And you perform best when you offer yourself as an instrument. And this expression of devotion is not something that you do, like you're told, go and devote. This is not an instruction. Krishna is showing you that the more you connect with Ishvara, the more you helplessly outpour yourself in small little ways. They don't have to be significant. Offering help, a helping hand here or there, a natural, spontaneous coming together with someone that you don't know. Small things like this play out throughout your personality, and they're innocent. So it's those small things that matter. It's not philosophy. Sitting down, let's talk, Advaita. That means nothing. Actions speak louder than words. And for them to speak louder than words, it requires practice. In fact, chapter 12 will quickly come onto this part. It requires practice, and it will acknowledge if you cannot find yourself drawing from that well of wisdom, then find some default fallback and incorporate that at least for a while in situations. Some default fallback. What and how will I respond when I'm confronted or when I meet a person? How will I choose to look at you when you knock on my door? How will I choose to look at you next time when I turn to someone that I love? In the same way as before? Or will I deliberately choose to look at you differently this time? That's practice. And how will I look at you? We have been given enough knowledge by now. Only on the second day, right? This is the second day? Is this the third day? Wow. We have been given enough knowledge to draw from. We know that Arjuna is asking Krishna what is easier? Is it easier to focus on Ishvara and bring Ishvara into my life, or just go straight to Brahman? And it turns out that relating to Brahman is not possible. That's why it's so hard. So chapter 12 says relating with Ishvara is so much easier, because all that is here is Ishvara. You don't deny forms, and you incorporate all of these teachings throughout your behavior. So you become a living expression of the knowledge. And it's so much more fun that way. There's no philosophizing. I'm awareness. Nobody wants to know. No, thank you. What I want to know is, will you look at me and smile? Will you be my friend? Are you a friendly person? Can I relate with you like an ordinary person? Do I feel threatened in your presence? Do I feel safe? These small things are what matters. They are what's called an expression of devotion. And other people feel your devotion because you're practicing it on and on and on. In fact, if you're with a partner, even better. You have every choice, every way to incorporate this knowledge and find ways to bring it together, really, because you have constant dynamic interaction, which is not so easy. It's not so simple. So there's endless opportunities to bring this and make this knowledge stronger and stronger. Therefore, we also need Ishvara's grace. Ishvara's grace is something that is earned. It's earned through your efforts, it's earned through your expression, it's earned through your contribution in the world. It's not just gotten randomly, because if it was gotten randomly, then there's nothing to do. What's the point of coming? What's the point of doing anything? Akanda Akara Vritti doesn't just randomly get blessed. Akanda Akara Vritti, that thought that removes that final cloud, it is a product of my consistent, sincere, genuine, hard-working listening and inquiry into this knowledge, really. And when you get blessed, we call that Ishvara's grace. It is Ishvara's grace, because the knowledge was Ishvara, and your efforts was Ishvara, and your brain was made possible because of Ishvara. And therefore, what Krishna wants to show you is that there's no such thing as superiority or inferiority. This power game has to go. Let's play power games. Let's establish ourselves higher and lower. What can I do? What little can I do? Constantly bringing it back down to, hey, where are we connecting? At what level are we connecting right now? Holding that honesty, always connecting at the same level. Never allowing to go upper or down. That's already disconnection. If I'm connected with you, if I'm connected with another being, I'm connected with Ishvara. Because you're not apart from Ishvara. There's no question of trying to connect to Ishvara in my mind. That's my own subjectivities. What Ishvara is teaching us is Tattvamasi. You and me are one. Ishvara is not teaching you, you're bigger than me. You're Satyam and I'm Mithya. You're bigger than me. And even if you know your truth, even then you are totally dependent upon Ishvara. Ishvara's laws, you still need to live out, you will still get ill, your body will still go through aches and pains. Still, that individual will turn to the Lord with two hands in a namaste and say, Lord, please help me to remove this ailment, this mental condition, this whatever condition. Lord is your savior and your guide and your best friend until last breath. And even then, Lord, from Isha Upanishad, I've done all I could. I have worked hard. I have dedicated my whole life to knowing you. I have come to classes. I have inquired. I have done exactly what you said, and I've tried to do the best I can. Sometimes I made errors. Sometimes I got tired. Sometimes I slipped and I couldn't follow what you were saying. But now it is time to go. You choose, O Lord, what happens next. Whether I am one with you or whether I come and get another body. There's no question of discarding Ishvara. Until last breath, he is the only guide that I have. Therefore, this becomes a sincere, a humble pursuit. A very quiet, I call it a quiet humbleness. A humble, gentle pursuit. Now, Krishna wants to say that in verse 5, indeed, Arjuna, reaching Brahman is difficult. So let me make it easier for you. Let's see. Verse 5. Kleshaha adhikataraha tesham avyakta asakta chetasam avyakta hi gatihi dukkam dehavadbhihi avapyate. So as we can see here, Krishna is stating that it is very difficult to reach Brahman because it cannot be objectified, and our minds are constantly used to objectifying things. And for this reason, even when Brahman teaching comes into our life, we want to somehow turn it into an image. We don't even recognize it's happening, but it's happening so quietly, so subtly, that it's nearly unrecognizable. For example, if I say, Atma is free of sorrow. Now there's some part of the mind that tries to make the mind free of sorrow. Tries to remove sorrow from the mind. So when sorrow comes, there's a problem. I've got a problem with the sorrow. I should not be sorrowful because I am a wise person. Resistance. So this means there's some my I is still in some way linked to the mind. We said the mind is meant to go through emotions. That's what it does. That is its function. Therefore, we catch ourselves like this. It says Atma is limitless. And we catch ourselves sometimes trying to feel limitless, trying to experience limitlessness. Again, we are attributing Atma onto the mind. So there's still a link. So this means that there are opportunities to catch ourselves. So my question to you is, at what times could you catch yourself thinking thoughts that are perhaps not so aligned with the truth, that have more room for improvement? What are those situations, particular situations, challenges, maybe with your parent or with your partner or with a student or with a client or with a colleague at work or in traffic when it's busy, where there's a lot of opportunity for saying things? Where is that one opportunity for you in your life where you could start to change your bubbles from one notion to another? Slightly, just make a slight difference. I want you to think about this. Maybe I'll give you an example of, this happened so long ago. I went to a friend's house. She invited me, and I had a nice dinner with them, with the family. And it was a very happy event. So I went home very joyful. And it was nighttime in Australia. So I was going, changing the lane, and the car was very close in front of me. So just as I changed the lane, the car stopped. And and I discovered that what happened was the car in front of him literally just stopped halfway on a highway or something, like on a very busy road, which is completely inappropriate. And I didn't hit. I was literally about 10 centimeters close. And I found a way to, come out. And I found this guy still just sort of on his phone or something. Just stops on his phone, in a sports car. Now, I would be triggered. In fact, I was triggered. But very quickly, I caught myself. Like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's the emergency. It could be many things. I don't have the full facts of why he did this. To me, it's totally inappropriate, but I don't have the full facts. So I made that intervention opportunity. So like this. And you say, oh, so what? It's a one time. It's not a one time. If you do it at that time, it spills throughout your personality in the future. And it becomes so much easier because that's a very rare case. It becomes so much easier to come back. Intellect still working, let's bring in the knowledge. Just that small default, I don't have all the facts. That enough was enough to cut that whole swearing and cursing thing going on. So like this. Okay. Other examples of subjectivity could be things like saying I'm awareness, but who's saying I'm awareness? The person is saying I'm awareness. In fact, a wise person doesn't have a need to say I'm awareness. Because why would you say something that is so obvious? It's like saying I'm a man, I'm a woman. Do you ever say that? No, because it's so obvious. So a wise person doesn't say I'm awareness. I'm a person. I don't care what you think about it. I'm a person. Ordinary person doing my thing in this world. That's another distortion. Or maybe I'm here to be. I'm just being. How are you just being? I'm just here to be. Really? How can you be? How can you do being? You're not here to be. You're already being, by the way. You're here to exercise your power to desire, to know things, and to do things. You're a contributor, a co-creator. That's how Ishvara's setup is made. There's no question of just being. You're never not being. That's a fact. I'm here to be a contributor. Or what about, I am one, what am I supposed, look at this. Hey, so now that I know Brahman, right? What am I supposed to do after knowing Brahman?
Continue the same work. Continue whatever you used to do.
Good answer, good answer. But why would you ask that? Now that I know Brahman, which is actionless, which is all pervasive, what am I supposed to do now? I hear this question quite often. Okay, I'm just going to ask again. Now that I know who I am, what am I supposed to do in this world? Listen to the question. Now that I know who I am Brahman. What am I supposed to do in this world? Why are you asking that question? You see this? There was never a time when your body was not doing. You were never this person in the first place. So, identity era. Let this body, as someone said, prarabdha, let that go. Karma palatyaga, let that continue. That's going to continue. But there's no question of saying now what? Okay, now what? The best you can say, down to earth answer, do your little contributions in the world. But this question is not necessary. That means all questions regarding what is to be done, all of this is just, you already know. You're an adult. You already know that. So these are distortions. They reveal our inner voice that something's off. So I like us to, after we go home, right, whenever that happens, I like us to learn to catch ourselves and take it seriously, because those are golden opportunities to make a quick correction. One correction, move on. And slowly, the person becomes more and more refined, and things just become so much easier and so much less confusion and so much less doubt. Bubbles. Pop, 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 pop. But how do we get those bubbles to show up? Only one way. Being in the world. Putting yourself in situations. I don't think I've ever grown more than when a confrontation or in a relationship situation, when I am put on the spot. Andre, what do you feel? I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? Like, I'm trying to name my emotions. Well, name them right now. I can't. And then I have to, and I feel a little bit embarrassed, like I'm supposed to know this. I'm an adult man. I'm supposed to know. And then I say, I'm slow. I'm really slow with emotions. And then I say, why am I slow? If I'm so fast with intellect, why am I so slow with emotions? If it's both within the mind, how can one be slow, one be fast? What's going on? That's a disbalance. So I said to myself, Andre, your emotions are as precious as is your intellect. Because I learned when I was a child, hey, I need my needs expressed. I come up to my mom or dad. Dismissed. Every single time. That's what I was trained. Dismiss, dismiss, dismiss. And I didn't even realize this, that my emotions were slow. I didn't know how to communicate. I was going to a freeze mode. I've got nothing to say. I froze up. And that was not pleasant. What I'm saying here is it's constant work. How long is this work constant for? Last breath. That's how it works. Okay? So what area do you need refinement in? That's the question. What area do I need refinement in? May the Lord make that utterly clear for me. And it's a blessing when it comes out. This is work. This is devotion. Active participation with Ishvara's laws. It's not just singing up there, happy, happy, happy. That's easy. Devotion is active work on oneself, undoing one's distortions to come closer to Ishvara. This is the real devotion. There's more to devotion coming up indeed. It's not the only devotion. So settling accounts with Ishvara, we call it. Settling accounts with the world. Where is my concerns? Where do I falter? Where do I get, what happens that causes me to think this negative story about this person? What am I thinking right now that's making me not connect to them? What am I telling myself now that there is a distance between us? What can I do right now to repair this relationship? That's devotion. Because you're repairing your relationship with Ishvara. No question of, goodbye, I'm going to go elsewhere. It's left unrepaired. And relationships are a beautiful platform where all of this stuff surfaces. That's what relationships are for.
So could one say that if there's irritation or agitation in the mind, that's a good pointer, that's a good indication where you have to look.
Yes, yes, yes.
Why?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Then you start inquiring.
Yes, and that's your indicator. Your indicator is not wrong. It also needs to be checked up, because sometimes the indicator can be colored in a little bit by impulses, by preferences. So it needs some checking. But don't discourage your indicators. Those first moment impressions, they say so much. That's why I said on the first day, is there something that you feel, is something needs to be adjusted? Those early warning signs, they are crucial. Because they quickly get covered up by our intellect. No, it's okay, it's all fine, you know, this is me, this is the old me person just complaining. And yet there was an indicator saying something that was not pleasant, so I quickly found a way to distract myself. And that indicator will resurface again sometime in the future. And it will become so painful that it has to be addressed. Can't get away with it. That's how the laws work. Sometimes it takes a whole year for that to resurface. I've had a situation in my friendships, my relationships, friendships, where I'm very patient and I can be okay with someone's error for a year. But then suddenly it just arises in me and says, okay, now I feel the pain. Only a year later. And I bring it up and say, okay, so something's bothering me. This happened, and I felt like this. And I cannot get myself to connect to you. There is a distance, and I need this kind of talk between us. I need us to role play the situation so I can release this baggage And then it feels so great. It empowers you so much when you break through. When you actually sit down eye to eye and you have a conversation and you say, here's how I felt, and I just cannot move forward with you until this is resolved. So the longer it's left alone, the greater that distance becomes, and the harder it becomes to repair. Repairing relationship with Ishvara. And the more you repair your relationship with Ishvara, you repair your relationship with yourself. You come closer to God. Devotion. Work. Here's a question for you. Suppose there's constant anger or bitterness coming forward, hurt from the past. Common thing. Someone hurt you, someone was unfair, someone treated you not as you would want. And you have two options. One of the options is that this bitterness, this anger, comes up and you say, the content of this thought is intelligence. The second option is you say, this thought is preventing or denying my connection to Ishvara. How can I repair it? What stories am I telling myself to get it back in order? Which of those two options would you choose? The first option is the content of this angry thought in my mind is intelligence, just like any other thought. The second option is this thought is here, it's unpleasant, and it's denying my connection to myself. It's not letting me have peace with myself or that person. What stories am I telling myself? Let me try to do the best I can to resolve this. Those are the two options. If you say one or the other, careful. The safest answer is usually both, because they both have a place. Okay? Because you can repair a thought all you want, but it's like turning off the fan. The fan still keeps spinning of the momentum, even though you resolved it a long time ago. So you have to know when is that moment where I can opt in for option one. Hey, this is just a passing thought. It's got a momentum, it's got a certain sting to it, but I already forgave, I already resolved it. In that case, option one becomes absolutely justifiable. So what I'm saying is both have a place. It's not just saying this thought is intelligence, let it go. Because the point is that thought will come back. Reoccurring, reoccurring, reoccurring. And for that reason, it needs some attention, some rewiring, reframing. What else could this mean? How else can I look at this? What is it in me that is disliking this? What is being triggered in me? What else could this show me? What is this attempting to show me? What can I learn from this? These are all possibilities in option two. So both options are available to you.
I understand that both options are in a certain situation good to do.
Yeah.
Do you have any indicator when option A is the best or option B?
Sure, sure.
Whereas, apart from the feeling, because
Right.
the feeling is distorted, so my indicator is off.
I will opt in for option two by default. I will work through it. And then immediately I will also recognize it as it is indeed a thought. It is just a thought of one of the many. So I will use both options.
Every time you use both.
Every time. Every single time I will use psychology to CBT specifically. And I will then apply this knowledge. I will say the content, this is just a passing thought. It really has, it's just reoccurring. And ultimately it is CBT, what's the name for it? Cognitive behavioral therapy. So the most modern psychology, the most popular is CBT today. So all of the modern psychologies of how to rewire, reframe the mind, is CBT. And I am a big fan of it because it works incredibly well. I have this card deck, which basically takes cards, right, all of the techniques from CBT, and they're basically allowing you to look at the situation from a different angle. And you think, I never thought of this. This is brilliant. And you can just see your thought just melting away. Acceptance commitment therapy, my second favorite. Yeah, excellent. When I'm satisfied with my work, I can now say the content of this is indeed Ishvara. This is still within Ishvara's order. Next verse will ask, how do you align your life to Ishvara? It's a big question. How do I align my life to Ishvara? And the answer will be through worship, through dharma, and through, that means bringing Samanya Dharma into your life and recognizing it is none other than Ishvara, and through meditation. So let's go through these three methods. Verse 6 and 7. Yetu sarvani karmani mayisam yasya matparaha ananyena eva yogena mam dhyayantaha upasate. Tesha maham samudharta mrityu samsara sagarat bhavami nachirat partha mayi aveshita chetasam. Okay, so let's go one by one. So those who worship me, for them I save them from the ocean of samsara. So those who worship me. So let's look at those who are, worshiping but in an indirect way. Well, there are several possibilities to worship Ishvara without really worshiping Ishvara. The first way is you're an atheist and you say there's no Ishvara at all. It's possible. The second way is it's still worship, isn't it, in some way, because the person's still worshipping money. Money is none other than Ishvara. The person's still worshipping success. It's none other than Ishvara. So how can you not worship Ishvara? They just don't see it that way. The second possibility is one's an agnostic. Agnostic means they have not decided whether there is a God or not. They're sort of in this constant open state of mind. The third option is to say that Ishvara is away from me, and to say that Ishvara is rewarding me, punishing me, deciding my fate. Ishvara is, somewhere in a distance, and I am to please him through devotional service, through worshipping him here, and he's going to be very happy with that, and he's going to receive my presence after I die. And he is the one that's scripting out my life more or less. I am lucky to be with him after I die, right? So these are more or less all forms of worship at different degrees. You could say at different degrees of one's understanding or lack of understanding. Now, the truth is, what is Ishvara? We said it is everywhere, everything. The worshipper and the worshipped are both Ishvara also. And at the same time, Ishvara is free of everything. So therefore, Ishvara is not some total mind. Because if Ishvara was a total mind, then all of our stuff would become Ishvara stuff. Right? That means Ishvara will be the most loaded being in the universe. Now, how can I trust that loaded being then to save me from ocean of samsara? So Ishvara is free of all attributes, of all loads, of all concerns. We are not burdening Ishvara. Sometimes there's this idea that, hey, I don't want to pray. Ishvara is very busy. I don't want to load Ishvara. I've heard this before.
I want to pray every day, but only the good things. And last year you told us also to pray for unloading the...
Unloading. For unloading the negativities, the burdens.
It's so hard to do.
Yeah, you feel guilty, like, I'm insulting Ishvara or something like this. But you're not, because if Ishvara wanted you to devote, it would not exclude your well-being. And what is involved for your well-being? Unloading. In fact, when you unload through psychology, where is your unloading going into? There's the only Ishvara here. So you're never not unloading onto Ishvara. So you might as well just be direct about it. Ishvara, I need your help, please. I'm here to ask you to help me remove my burdens. Because I can't do it on my own. If I could, I would have done it yesterday. Who wants to suffer one more day? In that sense, we need help. And we need to be confident and assertive about it. I can unload. I can ask for help. I am worthy of asking for help. I deserve help. This way we are overriding all of those childhood pressures that we're told. You're not good enough, don't ask, don't unload, don't feel, don't be a burden. These are all unconscious memories holding us down. So now, as an adult, you say, I am an adult. I have every right to be happy, to feel, to see, to recognize the presence of Ishvara. Every right. Every breath, I want Ishvara to help me, to come closer to Ishvara.
Doesn't it mean that when you told worshipper and worship is Ishvara, you told them, then when we pray, doesn't it contradicate that there is two dual, that we are praying to something else?
No, see, your knowledge power limited, right? Your power is limited, your knowledge is limited. Ishvara is limitless knowledge, limitless power. So you're asking for clarity, you're asking for help. Ishvara doesn't need your help, you need Ishvara's help. It's like, what do I give to Ishvara? Ishvara already is everything. And yet you still give. In your puja, in your prayer, in your gratitude, you still give something. Because it's healthy for you. That's where our personality complexes unload, by giving. Does Ishvara say, don't give me, I don't need anything? That would be an arrogant Ishvara. So this is a good question. Which one am I more comfortable with? Ask yourself now, don't tell me. Am I more comfortable giving or receiving? Let's think about this. Let me ask another question. Where do I feel more resistance? In giving or receiving? Where do I say, oh, no, I'm not going to, no. Where is that? Giving or receiving? Receiving. Yeah, I see. Now you ask, okay, Ishvara, I need some help. I'm not a good giver. I'm not a good receiver. Help me to become a more open receiver. Because I want you. I want to receive you. I'm not good at giving. Help me to become more of a easy, effortless giver of whatever little I can give, so that I may have the joy, your joy, of giving back to you. Because you have been given to me for lifetimes. Now I want to give back to you, because I'm only ever giving back to myself. This is work, devotion. Therefore, when it says, those who worship me, what he's saying is what we don't want to hear. And he's saying, those who are undoing distortions, actively aligning themselves to Ishvara's laws. Those who worship me, undoing their distortions, and actively aligning themselves to my laws. Does this sound like work? Yeah. Or like that. That's also okay. But it is work. And then keeping me as the ultimate end. This is the next part of the verse. What does this mean? Keeping me as the ultimate end.
Goal.
Goal of life. Keeping me as the ultimate. Keeping me as the goal of the ultimate goal of life. What else could this mean? Keeping me, Ishvara, as the ultimate end. How do you interpret this? Seeing Ishvara in all things. Remembering Ishvara in all situations. Karma yoga, like giving back to the altar of Ishvara. Receiving, I'm receiving from God. Whoa, this is a little bit hurtful, but let me do the best I can to address this. Did you ever have that time where you know you're a good person and you get something that you for a moment think, why me? I mean, I've been doing good for so long and this is like totally off. I'm not the kind of person that receives this. But you are, because we are just one of the many of manifestations. No one's special or non-special. It's just how it is. Therefore, we have to be ready to receive opposite to what we expected, more than we expected. Of course, we all want more, right? And we all want equal. We love that. But it's the other two that are the problematic. Less than and opposite. Those two I need to be okay with. Am I okay with accepting less than and opposite? That is a possibility. If I bring those two extra options, then you become immune to disappointments in life, at least relatively immune, because they will happen. Therefore, I'm not saying anticipate, but it's the reality. This is the reality. More of, exactly as I wanted, less than, or totally opposite. And then I have to know, how do I deal with more, with less, or opposite? Will I retain my composure when that happens? And how will I do that? That's part of being an adult. So keeping me as the ultimate end. And then offering all your actions unto me. Offering all your actions unto me. Someone said, onto the altar of Ishvara. That's karma palatyaga. Okay. So what does this mean? Well, often we interpret this as doing prayers and pujas for the Lord and, offering bhajans, right? Those little small things. It's not just that. There's a lot more to it. What it means is that it is keeping with dharma and recognizing that very dharma, those ethics, those universal values, they are Ishvara himself. It's not just dharma I'm keeping. I'm keeping my mind aligned to Ishvara, because dharma is Ishvara. Therefore, the question now is, what is this non-negotiable order called dharma? You can't negotiate it. It's non-negotiable. It just works. It's meant to work without any negotiation. And we call this samanya dharma, basically universal ethical values or ethics. And this is not to be confused with cultural norms, by the way. Cultural norms are not ethics. Because we had some time ago where women couldn't chant, or only brahmanas could be accessing the Bhagavad Gita, or foreigners were not allowed to enter a temple. In fact, it probably still goes on, I think, in some situations. Or cannibalism. This is also culture. Or animal sacrifices, as we had in the Vedic culture some time ago. This is not dharma. These are all contaminations that percolate throughout the society. Every culture has their share of ignorance, their share of distortions. So we're not talking about culture. We're talking about universal ethical values, which we all understand as, I don't want to be hurt. I want you to treat me fairly. I expect you to treat me fairly, and you expect me to treat you fairly. This is universal. That is dharma speaking. When a child lies, they feel it. When a child punches another child in school, do they go up to their dad and say, oh, I gladly punched another kid. Their nose was bleeding. They don't do that. They try to hide it. They try to downplay it. It's inbuilt. It is not something that we're not born conditioned and taught dharma. We're not taught dharma. And we are not born adharmic. We are born with dharma. But then the question is, if we have these basic ethics, why is it that we still violate them? And the reason is because, suppose I'm a child and my dad promises me 5 cookies and I don't get them. So what will I as a child think now? I will probably think maybe this is normal behavior. Maybe something's wrong with me. Child doesn't have much CBT in their mind. They're innocent. They naturally want to expect. They naturally want this cookie. It was promised, therefore it's offered. That's dharma. So this dharma in their mind becomes, maybe this is normal. And that builds a complex. Maybe something's wrong with me. Maybe I'm not good enough to be worthy of these 5 cookies. Now that builds an inferiority complex, and that starts to work its way through the world where the person doesn't want to give because maybe they're going to be rejected, or they're a little bit shy and they don't contribute to the world because they're not good enough. So now that becomes, from their standpoint, adharma. It becomes a personality complex, such as a child who is born in a family who is abusive somewhat here and there, who had to learn to give all one's power away because the father or the mother took all the power away, and they never got any power. They never got any say. They couldn't say anything. Now as an adult, they're craving for that recognition, for that attention, for that validation. And the fastest way to get it is to enforce it onto another person. That's why we have bullies in school. If you look at their life, I have a friend who I will visit after this course, who's now at Chinmaya doing 1-year course. She works with troubled kids. I met up with her, and she told me how it is with troubled kids. I asked her, so these kids, are you saying they're very smart? She says, yes, they're very sharp intellectually. She's a Vedanta student of mine. She even teaches them a little bit of these Vedantic concepts. And I was very curious. Do they understand it? Yes, but they can't. They just don't want to hold it. They go back into their behavior. It's so strong, their behavior, it overrides it. And I say, but why? What is the common pattern across all of these hundreds of kids that you worked with? Alcohol, on the streets, abuse, like bad kids. Maybe not use the word bad, but troubled, distorted, right, minds. And she said, all of them have one thing in common. It was a troubled childhood. And now that causes them to go on the roads and be these, big shots. But they're good at heart. They're all good people and they're very smart. But there's something in them that is damaged, she says. The emotional complex is damaged. So you can see, and this is also within Ishvara's order. So these are the bubbles that have to pop. And these bubbles we call pratibhasikas. But you can see how dharma gets distorted. Also we carry samskaras from previous life. And these samskaras cause us to have more of an attraction for bad boys. So at school, we kind of like, oh, there's the good kids, the nerdy kids, and there's the one who smoke, maybe I shouldn't use that, who do this, who do that. They're like the cool kids of the school. Now, why do you choose the cool kids who are the naughty ones, who are not very smart, over the smart ones? Why? There's an option. They're both available. Why am I choosing one over the other? That's called samskara. Natural inclination. And then you're with these kids, with this group, and they reinforce, they deepen that samskara even more. What's the phrase? The birds of the same feather flock together. Okay? Because there is no greater impact than those people that you associate yourself with. Like a sponge. So that further reinforces. Then there is societal contributions. What does the society tell us today? Achieve. Get to the top. Be seen. Be somebody. And what's the fastest way to be seen, to achieve? You will look for shortcuts. And those shortcuts, because we're sold this vision of being this societal person in the society, high status, that you have such pressure to show yourself that the person will find ways to quickly get what they want. And it may not be compliant with dharma. There's many reasons why we transgress. So this means there's a little bit more empathy that you can have, as I told you with these troubled kids, troubled minds. It's not just like what a-holes or something, right? They're generally going through troubled mind, troubled, there's nobody around. That's how it is. So now the question is, what do you do if you can't do anything? Pray. That's the last thing you can do. If you can do something, go and do it, keeping your safety in mind. If they reject you, then at least pray, may God bless their minds. May they have this ignorance removed so they could see their own errors. That way, at least you don't feel powerless. Because I know how it is when you can't do anything against someone who's just constantly going and going and going. There's so much in their head and they can't stop, and they do it for years. All you can do is just pray for them. May Lord help him or her to clear up their minds, because they're clearly acting out of their own distortions, their own pains, and they don't know any better. This is all they've been doing for years, and they're so conditioned to act like this. It's counterintuitive, isn't it, to pray for someone who's hurting you. And it takes strength. And this was a big thing. I was so curious once time, like I had to ask my teacher, what do I do? Like, you know, when I can't do anything. And this is exactly what she said. Let their ignorance, pray, let their ignorance be removed. And that also says a lot about you, to be able to pray for someone who is hurting you or somebody else that you love. Yeah, so these bubbles, right, we pop one by one. And I want to now ask, what's the difference between following ethics and ordinary ethics, and following ethics but knowing those ethics are within the laws? Now, very interesting. I know a person who is suffering quite badly, you know, physically. And this person doesn't understand the laws of cause and effect. They're a very good person. They've done so much for others. They spend most of their life giving. But now they're in a situation that they're just kind of in a bad shape, right? And going through a lot of pain. What are they thinking? Why me? What did I do to deserve this? And that makes it even harder to cope with their situation.
Or even worse, I deserve it.
I deserve it? Yeah, look at that. I deserve it. It makes it so much more psychological loads now get added onto the situation.
And there is no one, God has not given value for my goodness. You may think like that.
Yeah.
A type of,
And then you add additional thoughts what this means. And you just build up. And what it started as a single thought becomes now depression. That's how depression happens. It happened through years. One thought after another, and now it's a big onion. And the Atma is like somewhere buried inside with all these layers of distortions. But the person was doing good. So in other words, they feel undercompensated. Another danger of following ethics without knowing they are within the laws is that the person becomes intolerable towards those who are not at their standards. Because I'm following ethics, right? And you're not following ethics so much. Like, you know, I've got high standards now. So they become very angry and intolerable towards those who are not able to because people are busy. Unfriendly person who's following ethics. Unable to accept others for who they are. Unable to accept others' flaws. So that makes them again dissatisfied. Another thing is complaining. Because we see others who are not doing what they're meant to do. Like Duryodhana. Getting away. Throughout the entire Mahabharata, it's like nothing happened to Duryodhana. He just had lived a normal life, he fought here and there, he had Karna, he had friends, he was a good, it's like good things. And like, when is this guy going to get punished? So we become complaining, hey, I'm doing good, I'm a good person, like striving every single day, and look at these people, they're cheating and doing their thing, and they're just getting things left and right, like that. So the person becomes complaining now. In other words, why? Because I don't understand this cause and effect relationship, which is not isolated to 80 years, it is lifetimes. The moment I bring in dharma, knowing it is within the laws, then I understand now, hey, this person has their own fair share of suffering, their own distortions. They come from a background of family abuse, and I don't know, but it's clearly they are not keeping with the facts. This will work out somehow in their future life, but it is within Ishvara's laws, and they will certainly get their fair share of consequences. So it makes you a lot more tolerable, a lot more understanding of people's foolishness. No more complaining and, how dare they, and look at me. Hey, I am doing what I know. I am sticking by the laws. They can go and do this or that. It's okay. I trust Ishvara. Ishvara's system is infallible. It always delivers what it delivers. That means we now become a lot more understanding, a lot more patient towards foolishness behavior, a lot more non-reactive. And that has a huge impact in your life.
But sometimes what happens, this is my experience, when it comes to an unknown person, we accept that. But when it is someone we love, we are not able to accept, at least for few hours.
Yeah. So this is why I said, most of those things are with a loving person. So this is why I say with a loving person, you have to take one more initiative and say, this is bothering me, here's what I feel, and here's what I need. Give me your side of the story. Let's try to work through this. Because if I stay like this, then I will remain closed off, and resentment will keep on building and building and building. So this means with a loved one, we still have some choice. Do something, not do something, do something different. Those three are always given to you at all points of time. And we will continue tomorrow with dharma and meditation. So we didn't get a chance to do meditation today. We will do this tomorrow. Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Avashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.